folks, and welcome to this week's show. Backed by popular demand, we've got Peter.
Hello.
Unfortunately, we couldn't get my friend Kirk on. So, Kirk, when you're watching, unfortunately, he was doing night shift, so we're going to get three of us, but we're down to two tonight. So, if you get the chance, folks, go and watch our other show on Soft Cell, the album review show, which Kirk and I do, which is quite funny. That's how Peter and I met, if I recall rightly, discussing the lists. And I probably would change the albums around now, if I was to be honest. I'll probably change my mind. But go and watch it, and please subscribe to the channel as well, folks, because we're getting on some albums we're getting thousands, and we're not getting enough people to subscribe. So please do. That's my begging plea over and done with. So as you can see by the background, today we're going to be doing the top 10 songs of Soft Cell, which is not easy. I'll be honest. It's been a bit of a mare trying to sort of rank them up and work it out. But we're going to go for it. But before we start, as ever, we're going to just discuss how we sort of got into them and when we discovered them. So, Peter, how did you get into Soft Cell?
I heard Tainted Love when it came out. Fantastic. I was just a kid. Loved it. And then obviously followed it up with Bedsitter. Loved that. But I think I really fell hard when Say Hello, Wave Goodbye came out, and I was watching Top of the Pops, and they showed the video, and there's Mark sitting on a bar stool with the sunglasses on, singing the words, and then he pulls off the sunglasses and he's got eyeliner as thick, like Dusty Springfield eyeliner, and I was like, fuck yes. And it just hooked me in straight away. And then it was like, yeah, this is something special. And then of course Erotic Cabaret came out, and I bought that the day it came out, and it sort of an obsession was born. Although I must say, because I was quite young, and Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret was like nothing I'd ever heard. And I don't know, I didn't take it to heart the way other people seem to sort of have done. I mean, I love it; it's a great album, but for me, it was when The Art of Falling Apart came out that that was hook, line, and sinker. So yeah, same as many other things. Top of the Pops. So.
Yeah, it's same for me, to be honest. Top of the Pops, 1981. Tainted Love. It's a bloody great song. It's an absolutely. I mean, at the time, you didn't know it was a cover version. You didn't know it was a Gloria Jones Northern Soul hit, did you? You think, what a great song this is. I mean, my two kids love it. It's one of them songs they'll play over and over again. It's great. So yeah, that was the first time I heard them. I loved the follow-up singles, obviously, as you just mentioned there, like Bedsitter and so on and so forth, and then they were on The Torch and so on and so forth. I just thought they were great. I got the first album. Bizarrely, I didn't get the others. And it was one of those things, I think it was maybe because I was like a punk kid, punk ska, new romantic, and these aren't that. They're electronic pop, but they're not new romantic. They don't fit into that sort of group. They were very different. I think the only other band I could compare them with slightly earlier would be like Sparks. They've got that sort of, obviously being a duo and stuff and being unusual and very, very different, weren't they, And so, yeah, I think it wasn't cool amongst some of the macho lads at school to be into Soft Cell, if I'm being brutally honest. And at the time,
no, and it wasn't because he was so flamboyant.
Oh, he was so out there. I mean, I remember Rowan Atkinson on Not the Lady Cotton News did that very famous sketch of them, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I mean, it was one of those things. And then when you got older, of course, you don't give a shit about stuff like that when you get older. And as a band you get into, and you go, oh my God, these are brilliant. What a great pop band. And he's clearly influenced by many artists. He locally he's massively into like T-Rex. And then, of course, into all the Torch singers, your Scott Walkers and Edith Piaf and all those, like, Judy Garland and so on and so forth. And just a marvelous singer, marvelous technician. He's a really, really underrated singer. Of course, Dave Ball, great musician. There's some of those disjointed chords sometimes are magnificent. And you think it sounds simple. Go and try and play some of it or try and come up with it yourself. And it's not easy. Really, really great band. Just a great band. So we're going to go down the top 10. So Peter, I suspect our lists are going to be very different, but we shall see. We shall see in a second. And I'm going to
sure
start.
there'll be some.
Yeah, there will be definitely some overlap. So you're going to kick off with number 10. What have you got in at 10?
Right, number 10, I have got Fun City, which was the B-side to Say Hello, Wave Goodbye, on the 12-inch only. And yeah, it's about a small town boy and his first time in London and making his way through London and what have you, and the things that he has to do to literally pay the rent. You know, and it's, you know, very much it's definitely an early Soft Cell song. It's in the 2 feet in the themes of you know, seediness, queer kid on the town, you know. Yeah, it's quite it's quite sort of dancey, but and at the same time kind of stripped back. He also did a version of it with the Mambas. He did it live, and that was much. He's also done it solo, actually, with just piano. But yeah, it's one of those marvelous little CD songs, but it's quite it's sad. There's a melancholy to it. It's yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
One of my.
Well, that's the thing that's definitely going to crop up throughout this list. I think they do seedy, sad, melancholy, not melancholic feel, all better than probably just about as anybody else, you know. And so my number 10 is from the last album, Happiness Not Included, and it's Bruises on My Illusions. I think it's a great song, I really do. Rolling Stone magazine describes it as a mini film noir soft cell story about a disillusioned character with everything against him or her, who still hope for a better future despite the odds. It's a darker bedsitter. Dave's ominous yet punchy, defying chords inspiring the song, and it really is. It's a top song. The last album's a really terrific album. So if people haven't heard it, go and listen to it because it's a really super album. And yeah, I mean, we'll do sort of close songs that could have made the top 10. And I was really torn between this and Monoculture, but I ended up going for Bruises on My Illusion. So yeah, that's my number 10. So what have you got in at number 9, Peter?
Number 9, I have got I want to go with the 12-inch version of Soul Inside. I mean, they were famous in the early days for their 12-inch versions being wildly different to the 7-inch. Particularly things like Bedsitter and Torch. You know, there's extra verses. I mean, the radio play was a massive edit, you know. In Bedsitter, there's a wonderful rap right in the middle of it. It's fantastic. So, you know, if you are just discovering Soft Cell, do yourself a favor and get the 12 inches collection, because yeah. Anyway, and yeah, Soul Inside is no exception to that, because yeah, the 12-inch version is absolute corker. It's literally about losing their mind. It's the end of Soft Cell, you know. And yeah, one of the lyrics is, you know, blowing all of my nerves on a roller coaster ride. Was it like a fire in my brain, like a dance in the rain, a mixed up emotion of feelings inside? And it was the breakdown of Soft Cell, and it's, you know, it's sort of recorded, and also the video as well. The video is marvelous. They're smashing up their gold discs in it, you know, Mark's fingernails, the works, you know. It's when things were absolutely coming apart, and it's so, you know, they do that beautifully. They absolutely do that beautifully. And it's a raucous, wild ride. And the 12-inch version, 25 minutes long, bonkers. Check it out.
25 minutes. That's crazy. That, like, Well, my number 9 is going to be a number of people's number 1. My mate Simon, he might have had it in his top 2 or 3 when he sent us his list. And I've gone with Martin. It's an absolutely bonkers song. The band clearly influenced on the sort of dark side of nature. It's got it serves an exploration of various themes, internal conflict. It's clearly got some sort of Hitchcockian type of sort of feel to it. It's almost like something from Psycho. I love the musicality of it. It's amazing. I really love the timpani drums in it, building up that really dramatic feel to it, that rolling sound. It's really, really big. It's just so dark. It's unbelievable. All the references to murder and death, and it's just an incredible song, and it's so long. How was this a single? Obviously, they edited it, but my God, how was this even a single? It's as dark. It's possibly darker than anything the likes of the Banshees and Cure ever did in terms of like a gothic dark pop song. This is really, really dark and really, really long. I mean, at the end, you got the words "kill, kill, kill" at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
You're thinking, wow, how did you get away with that? It's a fantastic. I'm going to keep it short because I suspect it will come back up again. It's a fantastic song. Honestly, folks, go and listen to it. You'll have nightmares. But it's Martin at number 9. What a great, great song. And I saw them do it live on the last tour. I thought, oh, fantastic. It's not a song I was expecting to hear live. So, yeah, marvelous. Peter, what have you got?
I think Martin, Martin is firmly in their camp. They know it's one of their classics. And it's George A. Romero's film, Martin.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Romero, the horror director, isn't he? Yeah. A number of famous horror films.
It is a splatterfest. So my number 8 is Facility Girls, which was the B-side to Bedsitter 12-inch. And this is an odd one. It's just a year ago, it might not have been on there. But I have been obsessed with it recently. And you know what? In a year's time, it might not be as well. Because it's just, I've just been completely obsessed with it. Again, it's one of their story songs, like so many of the early ones were.
Yep.
When they were doing that sort of, when he was obsessed with sort of housewives and Tupperware parties and all of that sort of stuff. This is about, again, it's about a young girl going to the city, getting a job, and, the 7-inch version of it is just, there's nothing to it. It's just like 2 lines repeated over and over again. But the 12-inch version has got this full story, about this girl. She's left home, she's getting a job in the city and starting to sort of build a life for herself. She's got a boyfriend called Terry, who's a mechanic, and and this is a fantastic, really high camp line in it, where she's in bed and she's dreaming of Terry the mechanic, and then he says, she's a working girl now and mummy lives so far away. Which is just absolute fucking cork. And that's Mark having like a lot of fun. That's high camp, just wonderful. So yeah, that's my number 8, Facility Girls.
Yeah, wow! I genuinely wasn't expecting it. It's not one I would have. Honestly, I wouldn't have been expecting it on the list. My number 8 is one of the big hits, and I've gone with Bedsitter. Just a great song about the meaninglessness of partying and the sad life that you've got at the end of it. Having to go back to nothing really. There's nobody there. It's really got to me. It's a song. It's almost got like a blues feel to it, in terms of both thematically and musically. Hey.
Excuse my cat.
And it's one of those songs you could almost do it with an acoustic guitar and a slide guitarist, or you could do it like it's got that Dwayne Eddy twang with it, but it's really got quite a bluesy something. I could almost imagine ZZ Top doing a sort of slow, dirty version of this. It's a really great song, musically, stylistically, very, very good. Obviously, it tells the story, and it's that sort of monotony, as I was saying before there. But it's just so catchy. It's so catchy, and they just make marvelous catchy songs, and they create a whole picture in 3 minutes, and it really is. I've got the word pop perfection written next to it, and it really is. There's not an awful lot more I can say about it, but just a top song. So yeah, my number 8 is Bed Sitter. So Peter, what have you got at 7?
7, I have got Baby Doll from
Yeah.
The Art of Falling Apart. And this is, The Art of Falling Apart really is, it's got one foot planted firmly in goth. They were early goth, definitely. They were far more in goth than New Romantic at that period, the pop stuff had sort of gone out the window, really. And Baby Doll is really the sort of, well, on The Art of Falling Apart, an album of pure filth. It is sort of the sleaziest, the dirtiest, the saddest, the darkest. It's about a stripper, and yeah, you just have to listen to it. I mean, I could quote the whole lyric, but there's no point.
What I did on the last show, on the album show, and I mentioned a lot, he often reminds me of Pete Shelley in terms of the themes, and even sometimes the construction of the way the tune goes a little bit. I think there are big similarities, obviously without the guitars, and instead it's replaced by the keyboards. But there's definitely that sort of, you've either got the everyday humdrum life sort of style, or you've got the sleaze aspect, which Buzzcocks did really, really well as well. And I feel Soft Cellar almost like that, but as you say, the goth side is massive.
And yeah, this is such a good example of it. It is just, CD is a band that were known for being a CD. I think this is the pinnacle, near the pinnacle of it. So
Uber CD. So yeah, good choice. Well, my number 7, I've gone with the biggest hit, obviously, and I've gone with Tainted Love. I don't normally put cover versions in unless it's really exceptional, and of course, this is really exceptional. I didn't want to put it any higher because it's a cover, and I didn't know, obviously, as I said, we were talking off air. I didn't realize this was a cover when it came out. It was the same before. I didn't realize it was a cover of the old Gloria Jones Northern Soul song, and when you first hear the original, you think, "Oh, right, that's pretty good," but then you hear this version, and it outdoes the original by a mile for me. It's so good. When I first heard this in '81, I was at a holiday camp. Terrible, by the way, may I add. And all these soul boys suddenly got up and they started dancing, spinning around, doing all the Northern Soul moves. You see people doing splits, flip overs, and you're sitting there going, "Oh, you stand there with your mouth open, going." Because I'd never seen anything like it. There's me trying to pogo around the dance floor or dance to flipping the specials or Bad Manners or whatever, or Madness, and they're all sort of doing all these fancy moves. And it was like, wow, it was a real eye-opener. It was so unusual. It's just mad when I think about it. It was such an experience. But it is such a great song. It is such a good song. When I eventually get round to doing the top 10 greatest cover versions, this will be in. I mentioned this on
as
well.
It's got to be the top.
Got to be right in there. It's such a definitive version of a song, isn't it? When you hear it and go, there's been other versions of it, and they're like, all right. Well, this is just fantastic. It's such a great version. It is such a great version. So yeah.
Coil do an interesting version. They make it.
I've heard it.
Oh, it's filth. It's absolute filth. Listen to it. It's fantastic.
I will check it out. So my number 7, folks, I'm just going. My number 7 is Tainted Love. Filth's a word that we're going to use a lot, I suspect, in this show. What have you got in at 6, Peter?
6 is Her Imagination, which was B-side to The Soul Inside. I always end up fucking in the world of B-sides. It's because so many bands hide so many great songs away on B-sides, And Her Imagination is, it is, again, it's another one of his story songs. But this came later, this is, when he sort of left that sort of thing behind, and he'd moved into sort of the seedier, seamier side of life. Yeah, so this one came along later, but it's about a trans woman, and it's just it's quite sad. The music is very slow, very dirgy, and it's almost a counterpiece to Martin, in the sinister feeling about it. And it doesn't really have a chorus. The closest thing it has to a chorus is the refrain of the woman on the fourth floor, she was such a happy boy. And which, again, Mark, just fantastic. I mean, he populates his world with the strange, the outsiders, the freaks, and that was what really sort of drew me in.
It's very Andy Warhol, isn't it? In terms of that group in New York at the time, it's almost got that sort of, a lot of his stuff's got that sort of feel in terms of the characters, like Candy and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and it just, they just did give a place for a certain type of kid to hide. It was somewhere to belong, and it was all of these, freaks and creeps and wonderful characters, and yeah. So Her Imagination, number 6, fantastic.
Right. Well, we've not had a crossover yet. My number 6 is a recent single. It's a single track only, and it was Northern Lights, which I think they released about 2018 or something. It's just a great pop song. I was so disappointed this didn't fly into this. I don't really listen to the charts anymore, but this should have been like a massive monster hit. It's so catchy. It's just a great Northern soul type song, and it's referencing that nostalgia of going to the Northern Souls or clubs, or the club scene of the 70s and the 80s, the joy of dancing and no fighting, and the idea that you've got a dream and you can enjoy that, live for that dream, and the idea that you've got something to look forward to. It's just a fabulous song, and it's reflecting back on that moment. And again, I've just written perfect pop song. It encapsulates a period, and it sounds like old school Soft Cell, but in a slightly updated sort of manner. Really, really catchy, really, really good songs. So they can still write great songs. They really can. And it's go and check it out. Northern Lights. It's a really terrific pop song. So it's short and sweet, yeah, but my number 6, Northern Lights. So we're in the top 5. Peter, what have you got at number 5?
Number 5, Surrender to a Stranger, from This Last Night in Sodom. Yeah, it's near the end of that album. And again, another one of his creepy little... Actually, no, you know what? It's not so creepy. It's just a little perverted. One of his perverted little love songs. Full of it's very typical of the sound of This Last Night in Sodom. It sort of encompasses all of the tracks that are on that album. The album has a certain sound to it, and it's really summed up in Surrender to a Stranger. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's not as dark as some of the others. Although I'm just thinking now, like, I don't actually know what the meaning of it is. I've never really thought about it. It's just, to me, it's just a twisted love song.
Well, that's all that matters, isn't it? There doesn't have to be a definitive meaning to songs, does it? In fact, the best songs don't.
Oh, no.
The best songs are open to various interpretations, and that's the way it should. That's the way it should be. And he does a number of songs like that, where it could mean this, but it could mean that, or whatever you want it to be. That's really the way it should be.
I mean, I could be told, it could be about anything. I don't really know, but for me, it's just a twisted little love song. Surrender to us. It's probably a bit about bed hopping and what have you, but and he did certainly sung about a fair amount of that. So yeah, absolute corker. Surrender to a Stranger. Number
Well,
five.
my number 5 is Say Hello, Wave Goodbye. Obviously, the sort of end of a relationship song. It's bitter and sounds vindictive and mournful in sort of equal measure. He told Mojo that the song was inspired by some of the local locations. That was Brewer Street in the rain outside the Pink Piano Bar where the drag artists used to sing with a neon light from the Raymond Review Bar reflected on the wet streets. It's what Non-Stop Erratic Cabaret was about, and what Soft Cell was about. And again, it sums up what you were just saying before there, the whole aspect of it. Yes, there's a sleaze aspect to it, but also it could be like a love song and a breaking up of a relationship. It's entirely up to you what the interpretation is. It's just a fabulous song, and it's actually one of those really easy songs to play because there's only about 4 chords on it. But it's
That's
beautiful.
clever.
It sounds very clever, and the keys really sort of make it. It's a lovely, lovely song. Beautiful, beautiful ballad song. I sing it as a duo sometimes. It's a great song to sing, but not easy because you've got all these little weird phrases that you have to throw in as well because he just jumps around a little bit. So what a fabulous song. So yeah, Say Hello, Wave Goodbye is my number 5. What have we got at number 4?
Number 4, Loving You, Hating Me, which I believe was a single in America, but again, it's near the end of The Art of Falling Apart. And that's also about the end of a relationship. You know, I'm loving you when you're hating me. Yeah, a fantastic, nice little sort of spiteful song there. Very much in the feel of the of Falling Apart. You know, nice and dark. Standard, really. You know, not much more to say about it. You know, it's an absolute classic, and it's one of my favorite songs of all time, as well as being one of my favorite Soft Cell songs.
Yes, so, it is. It's on. Yeah, it's a great song. It's on my honourable mentions list. My number 4 is The Art of Falling Apart, which is just great. I love the driving beat by Dave Ball. Keys are superb on it. It's got that, you know, that conflict in terms of the chords. You've got that almost the tonally it's conflicting. It marries the music and the lyrics just perfectly. So I really love the structure of the song, and then the space and the driving again. So it's sort of, you know, that back and forth feel about it. Mark's vocals are absolutely brilliant. I love the way he goes up. He goes up, and as a singer myself, so you know what it's like. You go up, as others who watch might not understand it, but he goes up, and then he goes up again, and he goes up again. But it's all very subtle, but it's not easy technically to do it. And he does it so well. You know, he's a really good technician as a singer, and people don't appreciate how good a singer he is. He's a fabulous singer. That's what a great song it is, though, isn't it? You know, this could be on a Banshees album. It really could have been from 81, 82. It's really got that sort of feel to it. Just a fabulous song, really well constructed. Yeah, The Art of Falling Apart is my number 4 from a fantastic album. And as I was saying, if I was to redo the albums now, I would probably flip it and have this as the number 1 album. So there you have it. But go and check the show. What have we got at number 3?
Heat, also from The Art Falling Apart.
Yeah.
Closed out the first side. Probably the most obscene Soft Cell song. It's based on a book by John Recchi that is just, well, it's just gay pornography, really. Well, it's more than that. You know, it's not as simple as pornography. This is fucking obscene. You know, this is some dark stuff. You know, and this is obviously pre-AIDS pandemic, and it really is about sort of losing your identity in just endless sex parties, and just how that just eats away your soul. And yeah, but it's done with such a stomp. You know, it's such a great song to dance to, you know, and at the same time, it's really perverted, really dark, and pretty sick. So yeah, all the things I love. Why wouldn't it be number 3? Heat.
Yeah, I gotta see it. Great song. My number 3 is The Torch. I mean, it is pop perfection. This could easily be one, easily. It could relate to a torch singer. It could be intoxicated. You know, you could be intoxicated by it could be about unrequited love and the desire and infatuation you have with somebody, and then obviously it's unrequited, as I say, unrequited, so requited, whatever. It's just a beautiful song. It's all that yearning within it. I love the sort of, I think it's a flugelhorn that's in it at the beginning and keeps coming in. Musically, it's fantastic. I love the space. As I say, I love the yearning and the passion within it. It was a massive hit. It got to #2 in the UK. So, and you had to sell a lot of records to get it to #2. So it was a monster hit. A really great song. So yeah, my #3 is The Torch. Fantastic. What have you got at #2, Peter?
#2, I have the last track on this Last Night in Sodom, Where Was Your Heart When You Needed It Most? Hand in hand with your innocence, gave up the ghost. A sad, very sad song, quite a heartbreaking way to end the album. I've heard rumors of what it's about, but it's not what it is about in my head. It's about love going wrong. It's, for me anyway, I'm sure there might be some people that know what it's about that maybe listen to this thinking, no, it's not about that at all. But I'm not, I fuck the proper, you know, or whatever, you know. My version of it is just, yeah, it's sort of regret about sleeping with somebody maybe, or ever being with someone, you know, just feeling kind of creeped out, a bit abused, that sort of thing, you know. Yeah, so where was your heart when you needed it most? Hand in hand with your innocence, gave up the ghost. Love that, and that's why it's #2 for me.
Great choice. Well, my #2 is Heat. It's just fantastic. Yeah, we've actually got one that we agree on, from The Art of Falling Apart, as you've mentioned what it's about. It could be about an abusive or one-sided relationship. It's obviously very sexual. It's like a mini drama. It almost reminds me of, as well, and lyrically, in terms of thematically, the Bewley Brothers by David Bowie, which again can be interpreted about being about gay sex. Some people say it's about schizophrenia. It could be about either of those, actually, that song. But this has definitely got it, you know, and it's got that sort of feel to it. It's really dark. I love, again, it's beautiful. It's really well constructed, very, very powerful. I'm going to go back to that Pete Shelley comment that I made as well, because it does remind me of that in terms of his lyrics and the sort of drive and beat behind it. It's so good a song. This was #1 till a couple of days ago, and then I flipped it. So yeah, it was my #1, and I flipped it to #2. So #2 is Heat, and it's fantastic. So Peter, what have you got at #1?
#1 is, of course, you know, it's tattooed on my fingers. It's The Art of Falling Apart. You know, skilled at the art of falling apart. It's not only my favorite soft soul song, it is my favorite song of all time. The Art of Falling Apart, my favorite album of all time. Is it the best album of all time? I don't know, and I don't care. I know that it is my personal favorite album of all time, and that's my favorite song. It means a huge amount to me. It's, you know, got me through so many things. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's a good song to have a dance to. You know, it's upbeat, it's tempo, and it's a nasty little lyric that'll clip you around the back of the head. One of my favorite lines, my cigarette diet means my throat hurts like hell. My friends say I'm dying, but I do it so well. You know, he has sense of humor. It's a camp.
Yes.
It's camp. It's, you know, although it's dark and goth and blah blah blah, he has a sense of humor more than most, you know. And yeah, it's got that queer spin to it that is important to me as well. You know, he was definitely important to my queer identity as a kid. You know, absolutely was very important. you know, because he was quite unapologetic. You
Yeah, he
know,
was he was he
like
was openly out there, wasn't he? From day
yeah,
one, there was no hiding it. You
yeah.
know.
There was none of, you know, the Boy George thing. Like, oh, even your nan loves Boy George. You
Yeah.
know, kind of safe and what have you. There was nothing safe about Mark Armand. He was unapologetically queer, and not
Yeah.
just gay. You know, not just nice and friendly. You know, fluffy little hairdresser, John Inman, Mr. Humphrey type character. This was a perverted young man, and he was out for your sons. Love it.
Very good. A great song. Well, you're going to be surprised at my number one. My number one is Lesquita.
Oh my God.
Yeah, let's let Escalita. Sorry, I pronounced it incorrectly. I do apologize. It's absolutely fantastic. It really is. It's just one of the great songs. I really do think it is. It's got a John Barry feel to it. It's got that sort of Persuaders, John Barry sort of sound to it, but a drag bar in New York. So I said before when I mentioned that Lou Reed thing, it's definitely got that aspect to it, the Candy Darling characters and all that. So I've got Transformer in brackets written on here. I've got written it's a squalid, drug-infested feel. It's a magnificent tune. The sax solo by Gary Barnacle, it just adds to it. It's just brilliant. Mark just creates this vivid, dark image of a bar, and it's the ultimate in sleaze, but you just want to be there and have a drink, watching what's going on. It's a fantastic song. It's was my number one. I think it was between that and Heat, and I was really unsure, but I've gone with this because it's long, mind you. It's a good long 7 minutes or so, isn't it? It's a really long song.
Yeah, it is.
But he does that torch singing style on it really, really well. He really is that sort of Scott Walker type singer, that Edith Piaf, one of those type singers. He does it so, so well. There are not many who do torch singing as well as Mark Almond does. And he absolutely nails this song. So yeah, my number one is L'Escalita. There you go. I've got it right at last. So we've got some shockers there, and some surprising tunes for both of us. We were surprised at some of the songs in there. So what honourable mentions you got there, Peter?
Honourable mentions. I put in the 12-inch version of Torch, which I mentioned. It's got the all the extra stuff in that.
About 8 minutes or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Say Hello, Wave Goodbye. Is probably my favourite of the pop singles. And then Youth from Non-Stop Erotic Cabaret. Youth has gone, that kind of quite sad song. And then Insecure Me, which was a B-side to Torch, and that is bonkers. That is about losing your mind on ecstasy. And it's an absolute cracker of a song. Really good fun, really, really good fun. Just daft and silly, and they knew what they were doing. They're so unique. And he was so unique. There was nobody like him.
They're all very different, aren't they? It was just a great, great pop band. I mean, I've got I've got Nostalgia Machine, which I think is great. I've mentioned Monoculture. It's got that dance thing, which I really love, stuff like that. And I love the fact that it's ironic with it. It's because it's quite monotonous. So I thought it was very clever. I've got Forever the Same, Where the Heart Is, Kitchen Sink Drama, Loving You, Hate Me, Mr. Self-Destruct, Down in the Subway. There could be loads, There's loads that I could have chosen. But yeah, so I really enjoyed going through that and just put a fabulous playlist together, which I've really enjoyed listening to. So yeah, magnificent. Really interesting lists there as well. Some really unusual choices, which is always the case when we get you on, Peter. So it's always nice to see that something a little bit different, a little bit quirky, not just all the sort of greatest hits. So folks, Let us know what your thoughts are with regards to your lists. Send your lists in. Do you agree? Do you think those are terrible? Whatever, you know. So it'd be lovely to see what your views are. So from Peter and myself, until the next time, take care. Look after yourself. Goodbye.
Bye.